They say death reveals truth. What they don't say is how cruel that truth can be. The day my husband died, I lost the love of my life. But at the will reading, I lost my son too. And all it took was one sentence. Get out of our lives and keep that old ranch. This is what really happened. The betrayal, the heartbreak, and the legacy my husband trusted me to protect. Jim and I were married for years. We met in college, fell in love fast, and settled on the ranch his grandfather left him. It wasn't much back then. Just acres, one tractor, and a broken barn roof. But we had big hearts and calloused hands. We built it from nothing. Jim managed cattle, I ran the books, and every single nail in the house had a story behind it. We weren't rich, but we had everything we needed. Mark was our firstborn. The golden boy. Calculated, calm, always knew what he wanted. Then came Jake, a firecracker with a guitar and no interest in livestock. But he loved the ranch in his own way. We raised them to respect the land. To understand that the ranch wasn't just property. It was history. Then Susan came along. Susan was stunning. Charismatic. The kind of girl who could make a whole room turn when she walked in. Mark brought her home after college. She smiled, shook our hands, complimented my pie. All the things you're supposed to do. But there was something behind her eyes. Cold calculation. A sharpness I couldn't place. She never liked the ranch. She never pretended to. She'd wrinkle her nose at the smell of manure, complain about the lack of Wi-Fi, roll her eyes when Jim asked Mark to help during branding season. Still, we welcomed her. Because Mark loved her. And that's what family does. Or so I thought. Tension started small. Susan would whisper things to Mark, not realizing I could hear. Things like, "This place is a money pit. You could be doing more in the city. Your parents are holding you back." Jim noticed. He said nothing at first, but I saw it in his face. Disappointment. Jake, meanwhile, was floundering in Nashville, trying to make it as a songwriter. He called often, asked how the cows were doing. He missed the ranch but felt he couldn't return until he was someone. Jim and I just kept going. Fixing fences. Repairing engines. Watching our son slip further away. Jim's second heart attack came fast. No warning. The doctors gave him months. Maybe. He started writing letters. Sorting papers. Quietly preparing me for what he already accepted. One night, we sat under the stars, a quilt over our laps. He said, "When I'm gone, give Jake a chance. He'll come back when he's ready. But Mark, he's not who I hoped he'd be. And Susan." He didn't finish the sentence. Just stared at the barn. At the land his father gave him. A week later he was gone. It poured the day we buried Jim. Not light rain. A deluge. People huddled under umbrellas. Jake flew in from Tennessee, suit wrinkled, eyes red. Mark arrived late. Susan wore sunglasses and didn't cry. Afterward, everyone came back to the house for food and stories. Susan barely spoke. Mark looked distracted. Jake stayed by my side. The will reading was set for the next day. I had no idea what was coming. We gathered at the lawyer's office. Me, Mark, Susan, Jake. The room smelled of dust and old books. The lawyer opened a manila envelope and began to read. "To my wife Margaret, I leave our home and its contents. To my son Jake, I leave $1 to help him find his footing. To my son Mark and his wife Susan, I leave my love and hope they find peace. And to Margaret, I also leave the ranch. Solely. Fully. She will know what to do with it. Silence. Susan's jaw clenched. Excuse me, she said. The lawyer blinked. That's what it says. She stood. Her voice shook with rage. You mean we get nothing? After all we've done? All the time we spent. Jake chuckled under his breath. That's when she said it. Get out of our lives and keep that old ranch. We're done with all of this. With you. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out. Mark hesitated, gave me a long, unreadable look, and followed her. Jake stayed behind. He looked at me. You okay, Mom? I nodded. But inside, something shattered. I thought Susan was just misguided. I never thought she hated us. Hated me. The days after were a blur. Calls from neighbors. Sympathy cards. A few awkward texts from Mark. Nothing from Susan. Jake stayed a week. Fixed the fence Jim had meant to repair. Rode the ATV. Cooked chili the way his dad used to. Then he asked, what if I came back? For good. Learned how to do it all. I hugged him. Jim was right. Jake had it in him. 2 weeks later, I got a letter. Susan was contesting the will. Claiming Jim was influenced. That he wasn't of sound mind. Mark didn't sign the claim. But he didn't stop her either. Jake called her a vulture. I told him to let the lawyers handle it. Because I wasn't giving up that ranch. Not for anything. One night, I found a letter Jim left in his old toolbox. It was addressed to me. Handwritten. If they fight you, let them. They'll never understand this place. But you do. You always did. That's why I chose you. Not them. Not Mark. Not even Jake. Yeah. Because you never left. I cried for an hour. Then I got up and fed the horses. 6 months passed. The court sided with Jim's will. Jake moved back permanently. He fixed the barn roof. Started selling grass-fed beef online. We repainted the house. Planted sunflowers. Neighbors helped. The community remembered Jim with love. Mark and Susan never showed up. Not once. This ranch isn't just land. It's love. It's sacrifice. It's 38 years of partnership. And yes, it cost me a relationship with my oldest son. But some things are worth more than blood. And I will never be ashamed of protecting my husband's legacy. So to Susan, if you're watching. Yes. I will keep that old ranch. And I hope one day you understand what you walked away from. If this story moved you, share it. Maybe someone else is fighting for what matters. Subscribe for more real stories. Because family isn't always who you expect. Sometimes, it's who stays.